Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm your host, Jeffrey, and subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. Now, the Duke's Mayo Bowl is between the NC State Wolfpack and the Maryland Terrapins. Who do I think is going to win this bowl game? Let's break it down. Now, NC State is 8-4 and 4-4 in the ACC this season, and Dave Doeren, he's done a really good job as the head coach at NC State. He's really elevated the program since he started his tenure there. And NC State did have a bit of a disappointing season compared to what people were expecting the Wolfpack to be this year, but injuries definitely played a part in why they did not achieve all the goals that they wanted to reach this season. But they still had a solid season overall, and they won at East Carolina 21-20. That was a close win, and they got lucky that East Carolina missed a field goal at the end of the game. Then they beat Charleston Southern 55-3. Then they beat Texas Tech 27-14. That was a good win. Then they beat UConn 41-10. Then they lost at Clemson 30-20. Then they beat Florida State 19-17. And after that game, Devin Leary got hurt, and they lost at Syracuse 24-9. That's when their season started to take a bit of a downward trend. Then they beat Virginia Tech 22-21. That was a close win with their backup quarterback. Then they beat Wake Forest 30-21. That was a good win. Then they lost to Boston College at home 21-20. That was a bad loss, but again, with no Devin Leary, NC State was not the same team. Then they lost at Louisville 25-10. But then they bounced back and beat their rivals North Carolina 30-27 in double overtime in the final game of the regular season to still have a pretty solid season, 8-4 overall. And quarterback MJ Morris, he was 52 of 86 for 648 yards, 7 touchdowns, and an interception. He is going to be playing in this bowl game for NC State because quarterback Devin Leary, who's been injured all season, he's entered the transfer portal and he's committed to Kentucky, and he will not be playing in this bowl game. So quarterback MJ Morris is going to have to do everything he possibly can to help lead NC State's offense in this bowl game. But he has done a solid job in Devin Leary's absence. And running back Jordan Houston had 127 attempts for 530 yards and 210 receiving yards and a touchdown. He's a solid running back. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can run up the middle. NC State does have a solid rushing attack, but their best part of their offense is the passing game, especially when Devin Leary was in. And wide receiver Thayer Thomas is 53 receptions for 588 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's a solid receiver. And on the defense side of the ball, linebacker Drake Thomas has 90 total tackles, 44 solo tackles, and 6.5 sacks. Safety Tanner Ingles, 73 total tackles, 37 solo tackles, a half a sack, and 2 interceptions. And linebacker Peyton Wilson is 73 total tackles, 35 solo tackles, 2.5 sacks, and an interception. And NC State's had a great defense all season. They've definitely helped them win a lot of games, especially when NC State's offense, which is really good when Devin Leary was in, when he went down, NC State's offense really took a step back, and NC State's defense really had to help them win a lot of games, so they definitely would have had a worse season overall. Now, on the Maryland side, they are 7-5 and 4-5 in the Big Ten this season, and Mike Locksley's done a good job to turn Maryland from one of the worst Big Ten East teams to a middle-of-the-pack Big Ten East team. They still haven't broken through to be one of the best teams in the Big Ten East. They can't compete with Michigan and Ohio State, but they definitely improved, and they had a solid season overall. And they beat Buffalo 31-10 in week 1. That was a good win. Then they won at Charlotte 56-21. It's always tough to win at a group of 5, but they got it done. Then they beat SMU 34-27. That was a good win. But then they lost at Michigan 34-27. And that was a good performance for Maryland. Even though they lost, they only lost by 7 on the road at Michigan. Then they beat Michigan State 27-13. That was a good win. Then they lost to Purdue 31-29 at home. That was a tough loss. Then they won at Indiana 38-33. But Talia Tagovailoa, their quarterback, got hurt in this game, and that really kind of derailed Maryland's season a bit. They did beat Northwestern 31-24 without Talia Tagovailoa, but then they lost at Wisconsin 23-10 without him. That was a tough loss because with Talia Tagovailoa, they possibly could have won. And then they lost at Penn State 30-0, and that was a tough loss. Even though Talia Tagovailoa did return in this game, he definitely wasn't 100%. But then they lost to Ohio State 43-30 at home. That was one of their best performances of the season. Talia Tagovailoa looked like himself again, and they really pushed Ohio State to the brink. Then they beat Rutgers 37-0 in the final game of the regular season to finish the season at a solid 7-5. And quarterback Talia Tagovailoa was 243 of 354 for 2,787 yards, 17 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 61 rushing yards, and 4 touchdowns. And he's had a really solid season for Maryland. Even though he did get banged up and he missed some of the season, he's had a great season overall. He hasn't thrown too many picks. He's definitely kept the turnovers at a minimum, a lot lower than he has in his previous seasons as quarterback of Maryland. And he's leading Maryland in career passing yards. So he's definitely left a mark on the Maryland program, and he's helped Maryland improve overall, and he's had a great season. And running back Roman Hemby has 164 attempts for 924 yards and 10 touchdowns. He's a great running back. He's definitely helped Maryland be a more balanced offense, not just a passing game, but have a running game as well. He's had a great season. Wide receiver Deshaun Jones has 40 receptions for 478 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's going to have to step up in this bowl game because 3 of Maryland's top wide receivers Dante Demas, Jacob Copeland, and Raheem Jarrett have all opted out for the draft. So Maryland's going to need Deshaun Jones to play well in this bowl game. And on the defense side of the ball, defensive back Bo Brady, 78 total tackles, 49 solo tackles, 2 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles. Defensive back Dante Trader Jr., 58 total tackles, 32 solo tackles, and 2 interceptions. And linebacker Jay Sean Barham has 54 total tackles, 32 solo tackles, 4 sacks, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. And Maryland's defense has been much improved this year than it's been in years past. They've done a very good job on defense, and it actually helped them win a lot of games even when Talia Tagovailoa was injured. But Maryland's offense is still the best part of their team. When Talia Tagovailoa is clicking, their offense is fantastic. It will be much harder for Maryland without their top 3 wide receivers, but still Maryland has a very potent offense. And I would still say Maryland's offense is better than their defense. So who do I think is going to win the Duke's Mayo Bowl? This is a very interesting game because both teams are missing a lot of pieces. Maryland is missing their top 3 wide receivers and their top tight ends in the transfer portal as well, and a defensive back. And that's really going to hurt Maryland because Talia Tagovailoa does a really good job of passing the ball to all of his wide receivers. The less threats that you have, it makes your offense more one-dimensional, passing the ball to just 1 or 2 receivers instead of throwing the ball to 4 or 5 different guys. So that's going to make it much tougher for them. They're going to have to lean more on the run game, which the run game has been very good this season, but it's going to be very tough for them without their 3 wide receivers. And Maryland's defense, they will play well in this game. Their defense is much better than it's been in years past. And Mike Locksley's done a really good job at head coach, and I think he's going to have Maryland prepared for this bowl game. But NC State has problems as well. Devin Leary, he's in the transfer portal, committed to Kentucky. He's not playing. MJ Morris will have to step up in this bowl game from the backup quarterback spot. And they're also missing Devin Carter at wide receiver. He's in the transfer portal. And also their offensive coordinator, Tim Beck, he is now the Coastal Carolina head coach, and he will not be coaching in this bowl game. So that's really going to hurt NC State's offense, and it's probably going to make it where their offense is really struggling in this game, especially against a pretty solid Maryland defense. But the key for NC State is if their defense can stop Talia Tagovailoa. They can win this game because NC State's defense has helped them win a lot of low-scoring games this year. They have a really solid defense, and if they step up, then they can definitely win this bowl game. But I'm going to go with Maryland to beat NC State 21-17 in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. I think NC State can win this game. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think NC State's defense will slow down Maryland's offense, and if they do enough, they can win this game, and I think that NC State's offense will be able to still score some points, even without Devin Leary and Devin Carter. I think they'll still have a solid performance with MJ Morris at quarterback. Dave Doeren is a great head coach. He's done a really good job with NC State this year, even with all the injury issues and turmoil. I think they will play well in this game, but I think Maryland, their offense with Talia Tagovailoa, even without their top 3 wide receivers, I think there's still enough there on the ground and through the air for Maryland to be able to put up a little bit more points than NC State. And I think that Maryland's defense is underrated as well, and I think they will show up and be able to slow down NC State's offense. I think this game could go either way, and I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. But I think Maryland's offense will be able to do just enough to win this game, and I'm going to go with Maryland to beat NC State 21-17 in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below whether you think NC State or Maryland's going to win this bowl game and why, and I will see you next time.